Hey everyone, welcome. My name is Amber Gonzalez, and if this is your first time, then I am so glad you're here. And if this is not your first time, then I'm so glad you came back. So it is right now 16 degrees here in South Dakota. So I'm bundled up. I'm not as bundled up as I usually am. I thought I'd brave the cold by just putting on my jacket. I usually have jacket, beanie, scarf. I've got leggings under my pants, and I'm just usually layered up like big time. Anyways, so I just want to say welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. So this is part 3 of a mini series titled All Efforts Wasted with the question mark, because that is the question. Are all efforts wasted? Like, have you ever felt like that? Like, you just keep trying and trying and trying, but you keep failing and failing and failing, right? Like, all your efforts just seem to come to nothing, right? Well, that's where I've been for quite some time, and that's where I'm at right now. So if you are there, I'm with you. I completely understand. And so I really want this video to bring encouragement to you. So in the last video I did, I shared about my fleece throwing experience and how, no, I'm not going to be throwing any more fleeces out there. But I was really glad that I did because of everything that came. God brought a lot of things to the surface of that. But he also showed me what happened, why I panicked. You guys, I was struggling big time with doubt. After I shut down my Etsy shop, I felt like a loser. I felt like embarrassed. I felt really embarrassed by that because it had taken me so long to get to the point of even just being able to have an Etsy shop and open it. And when I finally did, I shut it down. It was really embarrassing. It really was embarrassing. And so with all of that, I had lost confidence in the way my mind operates and the way I do things, and you know, taking scripture into play. I lost confidence in what I learned through scripture. For instance, like, I am a girl who does research, and I don't just make decisions off the fly. I research before I make a purchase, before I make any type of decisions. I am researching. I am counting the costs. I am writing down the pros and cons. I'm praying about the decision I need to make. And more times than not, I am very satisfied with the decision that I make. But recently, that is not the case. I have been doubting everything I say, everything I do. Even the posts, I'll post something and I'm having a hard time being confident in what I'm trying to communicate even. And so I find myself retracting. I'll edit it, or I'll take it off completely, change it. Just the things I posted just seems odd, like it's not what I'm trying to say, and so it's oddly written. I don't know if I'm explaining that part well. So all the decisions that I make, turned me into somebody who's just not confident in my decisions. And so I asked God, I told God one day, I said, Lord, you are not a God of confusion, but I'm just not feeling as confident as I should. And through time and through a process, he began to show me some things. And through a combination of scripture, commentaries, and articles, again, I do my research, through that combination of those three things, God's shown me through the passage of where Peter walks on water. Now, here's the story. The disciples see Jesus walking on water in the night, and Peter calls out to Jesus and said, Jesus, if that's you, have me come to you. Well, Jesus does. So Peter stands up in the boat He puts one foot over the boat and then puts the other foot over the boat. He is way out of his element at this point. But yet he still gets out of the boat and he walks on water. But then the winds and the waves come and he panics and he begins to sink. And Jesus tells him, "You have little faith." So you can't help but wonder, taking all things into consideration of what just happened, what was Jesus trying to communicate to Peter by telling him, "You have little faith"? Because let's look at his track record of in that moment. He's the only one that called out in faith upon seeing Jesus. He's the only one that gets out of the boat. And he's the only one besides Jesus who walked on water. Peter resisted everything he ever knew about the sea. He defied the natural laws of physics. He literally stood and walked on water. So why would Jesus single out his lack of faith? What I see is Jesus wasn't chastising Peter. He was reminding Peter that the hard part had already been done, that he had already stepped out in faith. He had just panicked after experiencing the miracle. So it's pretty safe to say that Jesus was proud of Peter in that moment. But again, why single out his lack of faith? Well, the answer to that question was actually found in the very next chapter, in Matthew 15, through the faith of a Canaanite woman. Now, let me set it up for you. This woman was a foreigner, an outsider. So it is more likely than not that she never read the scriptures. Yet she knew something about Jesus. She had heard about Jesus. She heard about the miracles he did, all the things he did. She heard about the things he was capable of doing. She had heard about Jesus' character. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been so persistent in begging Jesus for help. This woman's faith shows us that the more faith we have, the more certain we are that God's character will always be God's character. Let me give you an example. Jesus ignores this woman and offends her. Yet she wasn't going anywhere. She believed what she had heard about Jesus. She trusted in what she knew, the little she knew of his character. And guess what? It proved to be right. Because not only did Jesus listen to her and heal her daughter, but he praises her faith. So, what is the difference between this Canaanite woman and Peter? Right? Because Peter spent years with Jesus. He watched him heal. He listened to Jesus. He witnessed Jesus calming storms. Peter knew the scriptures. He knew them well. And he would have known about God's character. He was taught of God's character. But yet when the winds and the waves came, he trusted more in those winds than he did in the character of Jesus of protecting him. Sorry. I'm just here picking up my husband from work. You know, we are down to one car. Well, I mean, we've only had one car since we moved here. And so now I'm become quite the chauffeur because now my daughter Layla, she has a job, which we're really excited about. But she wasn't able to get her license at the time. She had her work permit and was about to get her license in California, but then we moved, so now we're having to do the whole thing. And so she's about to get her permit and everything. So right now I'm just being chauffeur to everybody. But yeah. So here's the difference between these two. Jesus is not impressed by how much you trusted him in the past. He's more interested in whether or not you're going to trust him in the next. Will you trust what you've heard about Jesus? Will you trust what the scriptures tell you of his character? Will you trust him in the next? Always in the next moment, the next step, always in the next. Will you trust him? See, something I learned a long time ago as a young Christian is that God never knocks faith. He never knocks faith. So there are going to be times where you're going to step out in faith and it may flop. It's not going to go the way you thought or the way you planned or the way you hoped. But it's not always going to be like that. There are going to be times where you step out in faith and you're going to be spot on. You are not responsible for the outcome. You are only responsible for being obedient to God. So I want to encourage you. God never knocks faith. Scripture says it is impossible to please the Lord without faith. So no matter the outcome, your moment of stepping in faith, I'm going to say that again. Your moment of stepping in faith, no matter the outcome, it is still credited to you as faith. But will you trust him in your next? That is what God is more interested in. Not what you've done in the past, but in your next. Will you continue to trust him? So be encouraged because your efforts are not wasted. They are not wasted. You guys, I am scared of the next step for me. I told you in that video when I made the announcement that I'm shutting down my Etsy shop, I said that I'm not giving up. And I was trying to encourage you to not do the same. And I haven't given up. I'm scared because of what happened. I'm scared of what will come about, what will come that will try to make me panic again. But I can't be afraid. See, I do have this fear in me that actually drives me to do what the Lord has called me to do. It's so interesting, but I have this fear of not being used by God. I have this fear of being passed by where God will find someone else who will want to do what he's asked me to do. And that drives me and pushes me to actually do it. So be encouraged, okay? Your efforts are not wasted. So if you have felt like you bombed, you made a mistake, you failed. Little interruption there. Picked up my husband.
It is freezing out there.
Doesn't he look more like South Dakotan?
Woo! Got my hair growing and everything. It is no place for a bald man. If you're bald, don't come to South Dakota. Grow hair before you come.
So, anyways, as I was saying, just be encouraged and just know your efforts are not wasted. And God never knocks faith. So get back up there, get out there, continue to go after your goals, and you'll see it's going to happen for you. So as always, start today because there is no time like the present time. Take care.